Nobody knew who Sarah's father really was. She was seen as just an ordinary police officer. Until the day she was wrongfully fired, when an anonymous person sent the police chief an old photograph. In the photo was a man wearing the Medal of Honor, and that man was Sarah's father. Before we begin this powerful story of justice and family legacy, tell me in the comments what city you're watching from today. And if you believe stories like this need to be heard, hit that subscribe button and help us make sure these voices are never forgotten. Detective Sarah Martinez had been serving with the Phoenix Police Department for 12 years. At 34, she was single, dedicated to her job, and had worked her way up from street patrol to detective. Her colleagues called her Martinez, respectfully but with distance. Sarah's desk was in the quietest corner of the department. On it sat only the necessary files, a coffee cup, and a small framed photograph in black and white. The photo showed a young man in military uniform smiling. On the back was written, "Dad, Vietnam 1968. One of her colleagues, Detective Mike Torres, had asked about that photo once. "Your father?" he'd inquired. "Yes," Sarah had replied curtly. "Vietnam veteran. He died before I was born." "Sorry to hear that," Torres had said. "What unit was he with?" "I don't remember," Sarah had replied, closing the subject. In truth, all her mother had ever told her was that her father was a good soldier and had died young. No other details. Her mother, Elena Martinez, had raised Sarah alone. She was a hard-working woman who worked 2 jobs, coming home late at night. When Sarah tried to ask about her father, her mother would say, "The past should stay in the past, mija. Focus on now." So Sarah had never learned her father's full story. Just that old photograph and a few old letters she'd found when her mother died. All love letters that contained no military details. At Phoenix PD, Sarah was known for being honest and hardworking. She never cut corners, never looked for shortcuts, always went by the book. This quality had earned her respect, but also made some colleagues see her as too much of a perfectionist. Lieutenant David Parker, Sarah's direct supervisor, was particularly bothered by this trait. Parker was a 20-year police veteran who had recently adopted some flexible approaches. The problem had started 6 months ago. During a routine drug operation, Sarah had noticed something. She'd seen that $50,000 in seized cash was reported as only $30,000 in the paperwork. Initially, she thought it was an error. She'd gone to Lieutenant Parker. "Sir, I think there's a mistake in the evidence room cash count." Parker's expression had changed. "Martinez, sometimes counts get mixed up. Stress, fatigue. You sign the report. I'll handle it." But Sarah couldn't let it go. The next day, she'd checked the evidence room. The money was still $30,000. $20,000 was missing. Worse yet, this wasn't an isolated case. When Sarah conducted a careful review, she discovered similar counting errors had occurred several more times in the past 6 months, each time in operations supervised by Lieutenant Parker. Sarah felt uncomfortable. The police force was supposed to be like a big family. No one betrayed each other. But what she was seeing was wrong. For 2 weeks, she thought about how to proceed. Then she made her decision. She had to go to Internal Affairs. IA Detective Robert Chen listened to Sarah's allegations and took them seriously. "Detective Martinez, these are very serious accusations. Do you have concrete evidence?" Sarah presented all the documents she had. Evidence room records, report inconsistencies, date discrepancies. Chen examined them carefully. "This is enough to open an investigation," Chen said. "But I'll tell you this, making accusations against Lieutenant Parker won't be easy. He's a popular guy around here." Sarah knew it wouldn't be easy for her either, but it was the right thing to do. 2 days later, a call came to Sarah's desk. "Martinez, Chief Williams' office, immediately." Police Chief Robert Williams had been running Phoenix PD for 8 years. A former street cop, he was known as tough but fair, but this morning in his office, Lieutenant Parker was also there. "Detective Martinez," Chief Williams said, his voice colder than usual. "Sit down." Sarah sat, trying to understand what was happening. "You went to Internal Affairs," Williams said. This wasn't a question, it was a statement. "Yes, sir. I was required to report the inconsistencies I observed." Lieutenant Parker leaned forward. Sarah, you're a very young detective. Sometimes things aren't what they appear. There are complex operations, confidential informant payments. Sir, these weren't informant payments, Sarah said firmly. This is missing evidence. Chief Williams listened silently. Then he spoke. Martinez, you're a very valuable detective here, but sometimes being a team player is more important than individual glory. Sarah's stomach turned. She understood what he was implying. If you withdraw this eye complaint, Williams said, we'll close this as a misunderstanding. You'll continue on the promotion track. And if I don't? Williams and Parker exchanged glances. Then we'll have to consider other options. Sarah realized at that moment, either she would stay quiet or she would go. I'm giving you 24 hours, Williams said. Think about my advice. That night, Sarah couldn't sleep. In her old apartment, she sat across from her father's photograph thinking. What would her mother have said if she were alive? What would her father have done if he were alive? She looked into the eyes of the smiling young man in the photograph. Dad, I wish I knew what you would do, she whispered. The next morning she had made her decision. She returned to Chief Williams's office. Sir, I'm not withdrawing my eye complaint. Williams' face turned to stone. Are you sure, Martinez? This means your career. I'm sure. Then I'm sorry. Williams pulled a file from his desk. Effective immediately, Detective Sarah Martinez is terminated. Reason, non-compliance with department procedures and lack of respect for senior officers. Sarah was shocked. She hadn't expected it to happen so quickly. Badge and gun, please, Williams said. Sarah removed her badge, the symbol of her 12-year career. She also surrendered her weapon. Security will escort you out, Williams said. You can collect your personal items. When Sarah returned to her desk, the other detectives averted their eyes. No one was talking. As she packed her belongings, she also took her father's photograph. Security guard Mike Henderson, an old man who knew Sarah, escorted her. Sarah, I'm sorry, he said quietly. This ain't right. I know, Mike, but I couldn't look the other way. As she left the building, Sarah looked back one last time. She was leaving her home of 12 years, but at least she could look at herself in the mirror. That afternoon, a mysterious envelope was delivered to Chief Williams's office. The courier's identity was unknown. It simply read, Chief Williams, personal. When Williams opened the envelope, an old yellowed photograph fell out. From the Vietnam War era, colored but faded. The photo showed a young soldier wearing the Medal of Honor. He looked at the camera with a serious but proud expression. On the back of the photograph was a handwritten note. Sergeant First Class Robert Martinez, Medal of Honor recipient, Vietnam 1968. Killed in action while saving 12 soldiers. This is Detective Sarah Martinez's father. You just fired a hero's daughter. Williams's hand began to tremble. He recognized the Medal of Honor, America's highest military decoration. It was only awarded for the most exceptional heroism. Williams immediately went to his computer and began searching military records. He entered Robert Martinez's name. The information that appeared on screen shocked him. Sergeant First Class Robert Martinez, Medal of Honor, Purple Heart, Bronze Star with V device, Silver Star. In 1968, during the Tet Offensive in Vietnam, when his platoon was ambushed, he saved the lives of 12 soldiers and was killed in action. He read the citation. Extraordinary heroism and selfless sacrifice in the face of overwhelming enemy fire. Sergeant Martinez repeatedly exposed himself to hostile fire to rescue wounded comrades, carrying them to safety one by one. On his final rescue mission, he was fatally wounded by enemy fire, but continued to provide covering fire for his men until they reached safety. His actions saved 12 lives and exemplified the highest traditions of military service. Williams realized at that moment he had just fired the daughter of a Medal of Honor recipient. Williams immediately called Lieutenant Parker. David, come to my office, now. When Parker arrived, he couldn't see the expression on Williams's face. He looked at the photograph in the chief's hand. What's this? Parker asked. Detective Martinez's father, Williams said, anger now evident in his voice. Medal of Honor recipient, died a hero in Vietnam saving 12 men. Parker's face paled. Chief, I didn't know. You didn't know? Williams shouted. "You had me fire a woman whose father carries this country's highest medal, and you didn't know?" "Chief, please." "No, David. Don't please me. You sacrificed a hero's daughter to block an IA investigation." Williams picked up the phone. "Helen, bring me Sarah Martinez's personnel file from HR and call legal department. I want them here immediately." 30 minutes later, Williams's office was full. Legal team, HR director, and Deputy Chief Anderson were all there. "Gentlemen," Williams said, placing the photograph on the table, "we have a problem. We just fired the daughter of a Medal of Honor recipient, and we did it to cover up potential corruption." Legal Director Thomas Reynolds examined the photograph. "Chief, this is a nightmare. If the media gets hold of this—" "Forget the media," Williams said. "This is about what's right. We wronged this woman, and we wronged her father's memory." Deputy Chief Anderson asked, "What do you want to do?" Williams thought. Then he made his decision. The next morning, Sarah was at home, filling out unemployment applications. Her door knocked. When she opened the door, she saw Chief Williams. Beside him were Deputy Chief Anderson and Phoenix PD's Public Information Officer. "Detective Martinez," Williams said. "May we speak?" Sarah felt confused but let them in. "Sarah," Williams said, using her first name for the first time, "last night I learned some information about your father." Sarah was surprised. "My father?" Williams pulled out the photograph, the same photo that had been on Sarah's desk, but this was the version taken with the Medal of Honor. "Your father was Sergeant First Class Robert Martinez, Medal of Honor recipient. He died a hero in Vietnam, saving 12 soldiers." Sarah's eyes filled with tears. I didn't know this. My mother never mentioned it." "I understand," Williams said. "Maybe her pain was too great, but you're a hero's daughter, Sarah, and we wronged you." Williams continued. "Firing you was a huge mistake. You did the right thing, and we punished you for it. This is unacceptable." "Sir?" "Effective immediately, you are restored as a detective with Phoenix PD. Full back pay, clean record, and," he added, "Lieutenant Parker will provide full cooperation with the IA investigation." Sarah couldn't believe it. "Really?" "But that's not all," Deputy Chief Anderson said. "We want to recognize your integrity and courage. We want to honor your father's legacy." The Public Information Officer pulled out a file. "Sarah, we're giving you Phoenix PD's first Medal of Honor Family Recognition Award, and we're giving your father posthumous honorary membership." A week later, Phoenix PD held a ceremony honoring Sarah and her father's legacy. An old veteran named Charles Henderson approached her afterward. "Detective Martinez, I served with your father in Vietnam. I was one of the 12 people he saved." Henderson gave Sarah a small box containing her father's challenge coin. He said if he ever had a daughter, to tell her that doing right always wins in the end. Sarah returned to her desk with both her father's photograph and the Medal of Honor photo beside it. Lieutenant Parker was transferred, the IA investigation concluded, and justice was served. Sarah's story became legendary at Phoenix PD. She realized her father had always been with her, in every right decision, every difficult moment. Legacy wasn't just about medals, it was about character. So I ask you, have you ever stood up for what's right, even when it cost you everything? Share their story in the comments, because here at the Human Stories, we believe that real heroism isn't about medals, it's about the choices we make when no one is watching. Sarah Martinez chose honor over career. Her father chose sacrifice over safety. Sometimes legacy works this way. One generation passes courage to the next until someone finally recognizes the hero in the room. Thank you for watching. If this story moved you, subscribe and share it with someone who needs to remember that integrity always wins in the end.